concerned about how the system works. I want the system to work the way the Constitution says it's supposed to work. When are our politicians going to get their head out of their politics and start upholding their oaths and operating the Constitution the way it is? I don't know about you, but I didn't elect a committee to represent me. And those men and women do not take oaths to defend the committees and their House rules. They take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the United States demands that they stand against these lawless acts.
So when the committee does this is one thing, but you're saying that does the committee have the same authority? From what I was gathering, Gowdy was trying to tell us that his committee doesn't have the authority, that he has to go to the entire body of the House of Representatives to get the authority? Is that, or am I misstating that?
Here's the deal. Who knows what the House rules said? He said his committee doesn't, but another committee may, or the House may. Because these House rules are so ambiguous and they apply as they want them to be applied is the whole reason why we shouldn't be operating by House rules. The whole premise for a constitutional republic is the fact that we have equal representation in the House of Representatives. When Gowdy admits that a committee is running our representation, we elected no committees, but then he admits that the committee has no power and that some members of the House have more power than the other, then that completely eliminates the idea that we have equal representation and we are no longer a republic. We are an oligarchy.
Yes. That sounds familiar. It sounds a little bit like a Politburo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what frustrates me most of all is the people who come back and they defend Trey Gowdy against the Constitution because of who he is. If I were to have made these statements against Harry Reid in the Senate or somebody else, a Democrat in the House, there would be every conservative jumping on my back saying, yeah, let's go, KrisAnne, we got your back, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon.
Uh-huh.
But because I have pointed out that Trey Gowdy has made these mistakes and it's Trey Gowdy that is destroying our Constitution, then all of a sudden we have to defend the politics to the destruction of our own liberty. So
it's more of the ideology because it's Trey Gowdy, and he's the only one up there fighting for us.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm sick of words. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of words. Well, a fight is an act. It's not a word. When he's running around barking his mouth and doing nothing about it, that is no fight. That is just simply bullying and barking, and I'm sick and tired of it. My Congressman, Ted Yoho, knows that I do not want another congressional hearing. If we have one more congressional hearing, we should scream. They've done nothing but waste our money and distract us with fabricated crises. All we need from our Congress from this day forward, if we had these three things from our Congress from this day forward, all our federal problems would disappear. All I want from Congress from this day forward is to defund, dissolve, and disarm all these unconstitutional executive agencies. Those acts alone, all constitutionally established, all constitutionally warranted, is the power lying in the hands of the majority in the House alone to do all three of those things. Would end every budget crisis, would end every tyrannical movement by the executive branch, and would end the destruction of the Constitution.
KrisAnne, this is John here. I wanted to interrupt just for a minute here because you just said something and I wanted to get you to expound on just a little bit if we can here. You mentioned the fact that these congressional hearings are nothing more than distractions, which I totally agree. Reading your article and your position, I understand completely what you're saying. I agree 100%. Is that I think you used the term earlier, pony show. And my question is, why do you think that the Republicans in particular are going down this road where everything is just a show? It's kind of like they want to try to give us the impression that they are actually trying to do something, when in fact I don't see any evidence that that's really the game. I think it's more like just trying to deceive us into thinking that they're trying to do something.
That's exactly it. It is all deception. I call it the shuffle and groove. Look at us moving, look at us doing. We must be doing something because our lips are moving and we're doing something, but when you're not really doing anything at all. And what happens is that the people just get strung along with the anticipation of what they're going to do, and they never do anything. But the bottom line is this, is understanding the politics of power and understanding how precedent works. And these politicians do not want to limit the executive branch because they understand it. The easiest, and I don't refer people to Wikipedia often, but this is a very simple tool that's there's no room for real distortion here. So go to Wikipedia and look up presidents of the United States, and you'll see a chart of the presidents of the United States and their political affiliations, and watch how that works. And over the years, I mean, you can just go back 50 years. Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat. It's just a flip-flop. So the people in politics understand that it may be the other guy in the White House today, but it'll be their guy in the White House tomorrow. And so if they establish a precedent that the executive branch can be controlled by the opposing party, then they will establish a precedent that their president will be controlled when their president is in office. And so the power that we have created in the House of the President, which is completely contrary to the power that our framers created in the president, has now created a man or a woman who is a leader of a country and the leader of their political party. And if the leader of their political party is the leader of the country, then they have the power in their hands, and they don't want to do anything ever to jeopardize that possession of power.
So, KrisAnne, this stuff that Gowdy's doing, is there any does he have any legal authority to do anything he's doing then?
Well, there are no legal authorities for committees. Committees are created by House rules. As a representative, he has constitutional and legal authority to do a whole lot that they simply refuse to do. They have constitutional authority under Article 2, Section 4 to start impeaching officers who will not do their duty and will not follow the Constitution.
Well,
for example, under Article...
That would be problematic for them since they're not doing it as well.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
I said that would be problematic for them as they are not following the Constitution as well. So it'd be kind of going against themselves.
Right, exactly. But the power, and again, that's another reason why they won't follow the Constitution, because it's too convenient and too politically advantageous to use excuses rather than to do what's right. And so what we have is a situation now where Hillary Clinton should be prosecuted, okay? Absolutely. If you and I did the things that Hillary Clinton did, we would not be arguing about not subpoenaing servers. The federal government or any government would have our servers in custody, among other things, including us, already.
Yes.
But, right, because that's how it works now. We've created a government where the people who are sitting in power are above the law. And so what should happen now is, because they've let Hillary get away without impeaching her, what they should be doing is creating the commission through the Department of Justice to prosecute her. And if the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, refuses to prosecute her, then they should be impeaching the Attorney General and replacing the Attorney General with someone who will follow the law and not create politicians who are above the law.
Yes,
but they're not going to do that because Eric Holder is leaving unchecked after having been proven guilty of accessory to murder and then only found guilty in criminal contempt, and still nothing's happened to him.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because it was like, it seems this Justice Department's not going to do anything. They haven't done anything about the Fast and Furious, the IRS stuff, or any other quote unquote non-scandals that have happened during this Obama administration. So, and now they've got they just got a female version of Eric Holder going on now. So I wouldn't expect anything to change now.
Oh no, it's going to get worse. It is absolutely going to worse. Eric Holder in a dress is a nightmare for us, because not only will she have the race card to call, but she'll also call, gender discrimination. And this administration, if anything, has proven that it will push the envelope. And we've already let Eric Holder get away with murder. We've let Hillary Clinton get away with murder and treason and lying under oath. which her husband was impeached for, by the way. And we are going to now have a new Attorney General, Lynch, who will break those barriers and go even further. I tremble at the thought of what this woman can accomplish in her tenure. Because she will go unchecked. Congress has proven they will do nothing.
Yes, that's the scary part, because Congress won't do anything. It's not because they can't do anything, correct? They could do something, right? Congress
is the ultimate check and balance on the executive branch. Our framers went through great pains to put the opponents to the establishment of the House of a President at ease. There was a huge debate over whether we should have an executive branch and how that executive branch should be composed. There was debate on whether we should have a committee as an executive branch, a tribunal as an executive branch, or a single person as the leader of the executive branch. And there was a lot of fear that if we had a single entity president, that person would evolve into a king over the years. Mm-hmm. And those who were proponents of the single entity president went through great pains to show why our president was not a king and why he could never become a king. And one of the greatest opponents to that understanding of the president becoming a king was the Congress. The fact that Congress had ultimate check and balance over the House of the Executive, and that the executive could do nothing without one or the other or both houses in conjunction.
Well, with both houses.
So what we have now is a Congress who has eliminated themselves from their essential check and balance role and has allowed not only their power, but all power to be consolidated into the executive branch, actually creating the reality that some of our framers were afraid of the presidential king.
So you're saying that they wrap this up in a cloak to saying, well, if we let this guy get away with all this, eventually our guy's going to be able to get in there and he'll be able to do even more and get away with more.
I'm going to tell you that that's not only what they're thinking, I'm telling you that's what they've been thinking for years. Because the bottom line is this, Barack Obama could not be doing what he's doing today if George Bush hadn't laid the groundwork for him. I mean, it's George Bush that gave us the Patriot Act and the National Security Letters and established the TSA and all of this craziness, these violations of our liberties in the name of national security. And there are 30 executive orders in existence right now that create national emergencies. There are over 30 national emergencies in existence right now by executive order, and many of them are carried over from previous presidents.
Can you give an example of just one?
Well, sure. There's executive orders. The executive order that created the sanctions against Cuba is an executive order that began in the Cuban Missile Crisis,
okay. Mm-hmm.
and has continued on in spite of the fact that there is no longer a Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes. So we could have whatever it is to take that away. I don't know what you would call that. What the legal term would be, rescind.
Well, right. The executive orders expire every year unless the current president reinstates them.
Oh.
See, we've had over 100 executive orders over the last 50 years. But since 1976, in September 14th, 1976, we passed the National Emergency Act, which got rid of every national emergency prior to September 14th, 1976, unless they were carried over.
Ah.
And then, once the National Emergency Act of 76 went into place, every national emergency that was created by every president, by law, has to be reviewed by Congress after 6 months. After 6 months of a national emergency declared by the president, Congress has to meet then they have to decide in a very structured way whether this emergency shall continue and on what terms. I mean, down to the day these things are to be decided. Do you know, since 1976, we have over 30 continuing national emergencies issued by the president, and Congress has never once met as the law requires them to.
That does not surprise me that they have